Okay, good afternoon everyone, welcome. I'm going to talk about a really important topic. I'm going to talk about climate change, or let's say global warming, or those that you... I've named the presentation before it's too late because I'm going to talk about much more bigger things than global warming and all that. First of all, I'm going to show you a picture. This is a picture. It was painted around 1500. This is called The Garden of Earthly Delights. It was painted by Hieronymus Bosch. Okay, I want you to look carefully at this photo because my whole presentation is about this photo. Okay? Okay, let's look at the first panel. Okay, in this photo you see people, okay? You see birds flying in the distance and you see elephants, giraffes. So this is a happy photo, okay? This is normal, happy photo. I called it peace. Okay, this is the first stage. Okay, the second panel we have is this interesting photo, okay? I called it chaos. If you look at the panel, you see that these are a lot of humans. This is overpopulation, okay? This is a lot of people that are departuring and accessing. So this is where things start to get more interesting. Okay, we go over to the third panel, which is this is like a nightmare photo. You see people dead, and you see birds eating human, and you see black clouds. So this is a decayed photo. It's I called it disaster. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. We live in the 21st century right now, okay? So which panel do you think represents the time that we live in now? We see wars, we see ISIS, we see everything. So are we living in peace right now, or are we in chaos, or are we in a disaster? Which panel do you think represents our time right now?
I think we are in chaos, about to be disaster.
This one?
Yes,
Okay.
Chaos, between chaos and disaster.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Disaster.
Disaster? You think we're in the end? Okay. So in this presentation, I'm going to answer that question for you at the end. So let's start the presentation. Okay. Okay. So this is a really important topic. Not everyone wants to talk about it. Try to have a conversation about climate change with anyone. People just don't care about these things. But this is really important because this is real life. Okay, so in order to fight climate change, we have to know that our economy is based on fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are coal, oil, and natural gas. What are these useful for? Okay, we need oil for the transportation sectors. We need it for cars, trains, planes. This is for oil. Okay? But coal and natural gas, we need it to electricity. Okay? We have these lights at home. These are powered by these two fossil fuels. Okay. Now, because our cities are beginning to be bigger, okay, we're building more and we're using more much before, so we are going to really extreme and new ways to get fossil fuels. Okay, so I'm going to show you some of those ways. Okay, we have something called mountaintop removal for coal. Okay, these are called cans. Okay, we dig holes into the mountain in order to get out coal. Okay, so this is a mountain. You see, this had been cut in half. This used to be a big mountain. So we use this. This is called mountaintop removal. We get out coal from it. Okay, the second thing is fracking for natural gas. This is called fracking. It's a long drill that goes under the ground, and we get natural gas from it that's used to, for example, warm our food. Okay, and the third one is offshore drilling. This is called offshore drilling. This is also drilling that goes under the ground. We get oil out of it. So these are three extreme ways to get these fossil fuels, and these are really disastrous because they lead to climate change. The most devastating and the most dangerous one is called tar sands. This used to be a big forest, so that's when it became tar sand. Tar sands is also called sandy oil. Okay, so these black spots are all sands that has oil in it. So the thing is that, okay, this was used to be a beautiful green forest that they're all cut, okay? They cut massive forests in order to make these tar sands, and it also makes the water poison. This is an example of a tar sand in Canada, okay? This is a river near the factory, so these water are poison, and this is where people get their drinking water, okay? Okay, this is the tar sand I talked to you about in Canada, okay, in Alberta, Canada. They get 350,000 barrels of oil per day from this factory. This is really big, okay? This is just one part of the operation. We also have 4 more parts that are like 70 kilometers big. So that's 70 kilometers of forest that has been cut in order to make this tar sand. This is the most devastating way of getting fossil fuel. Okay, so how do they get that sand out of that, oil out of that sand? They pump steam into the ground. They dig a big hole, a big deep hole. They pump steam into the ground, and as the ground warms, the oil gets out of the sand. It turns into sandy oil, and then they wash the oil out of the sand and gets in our fuel tanks that we use. Okay, you've heard all heard this term global warming. Okay, so global warming, let me say just a small definition of what causes global warming. Okay, modes of transportation, everything that we do, from boats, trains, cars, the way we produce our food, this is a farm, the way we build our cities, everything we do releases carbon dioxide, CO2, into the atmosphere, and that leads to climate change. Okay, what are the effects of global warming? So one of the things is that the ice in the polar will melt, okay? This is Greenland, okay? This is near the Arctic, the Antarctica we say. The thing is that the ice will melt, sea levels will rise, and there will be more dangerous weather events, hurricanes, storms. There will be more vicious than before. There will be floods, okay? These are houses, okay? They're all underwater. These are near shore, okay? And there will be droughts and wildfires. These are all the effects of global warming. Okay, let's get an example of one place, Baffin Island. This is Canada, near the Arctic Circle, okay? This is Canada. This has, it used to has, 50 years or so ago, it used to has really blue, hard ice, okay? But now the ice has turned into ice cream, okay? We all know that ice cream melts pretty fast, okay? So this turned into ice cream, okay? We have another place, Greenland, okay? Greenland is all ice, okay? Greenland happened, the same thing happened to this place. Okay, I'm gonna show you one image of, this is Greenland, okay? This hose right here is 30 feet. It means it's 20 meters or so. That's the amount of ice that has been melted down the Greenland surface in 5 years. So every 5 years, 30 feet of ice is melted. So we only have 40 to 50 more years, and the Greenland is going away. Okay, so we have, if we continued like this, if temperatures continue to do like this, Greenland is going away. In 2040, you are going to be able to sail over the Antarctic, no ice left. That's just in 20 years. So if we continued like this, this snow will go away without seeing them. Okay, and that ice melts. So what happens to the ice? It goes into the sea. It melts and then goes into the sea, and that causes sea level rising. Okay, if snow doesn't fall, then this will melt and it all will be water. Okay, let's go to another place, Miami, Florida. Okay, there's something called sunny day flooding. Okay, picture a beautiful sunny day, okay, in Miami, no problems, nothing. And suddenly, water starts to come out from the drains, suddenly, okay? And the streets will get flooded by water, and this has damage to the properties and to the people. So this is just a normal day in Miami. People get used to these things because it happens like every week, okay? Suddenly, a sunny day turns into a flood day. Okay, so they had a solution, a temporary solution. They raised the roads, so in order to, so this is all water right here. This street used to be underwater fully, so they raised the roads in order to fix that problem, but that's just a temporary solution for like 40 to 50 years, and then the problem starts all over again. Okay, global warming is something that is real and is happening right now. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. 97% of scientists agree that this is the major issue and this is happening right now. Only 3% of scientists disagree with climate change. So this is a really big issue and is really happening because we all have these scientists that telling us that it's happening. Okay, this is a curve, shows the temperature in 1 AD till 2000. Okay, we're in 2017 right here. So you see this curve, it's cooling down, but all of a sudden it goes up. Okay, this is 2017 right here. So look at this, and we haven't had this temperature in history. This is the first time that this thing ever happens, so this is really dangerous. I'm going to tell you that in a bit. Okay, so why aren't governments doing anything about it? Okay, there's one word to call it, that's profit. Okay, these are oil companies. Okay, these oil company managers, they disagree with climate change. They know that it's happening, but they choose to say not because they get profit from fossil fuels. So they deny, and they're all part of Congress. Okay, this is Congress. These are senators and congressmen. They all get profit from fossil fuels because they all share companies to fossil fuels. So the American government is doing nothing about this problem because they all get profit. They all make money from it, so they don't do anything about it. Okay. 10 years ago, America was the #1 polluter in the world. But just recently, China has passed the United States and become the #1 polluter. So right now, China is the #1 polluter. Okay, as you know, China is the factory of the world. It makes everything to every place. So that, in turn, pollutes the environment because of this carbon dioxide emissions. Okay, so all these big factories emit carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, so that makes it the #1 polluter. Okay, there were a lot of times in Beijing that schools were shut down because the high level of toxic in the air. So this is intoxicated air, and the schools were shut down because people were scared that if they inhale those intoxicated gases, they will get cancer. Okay, so people started to protest against the government to do something about it. Okay, these are people from Beijing in the streets, and they are all asking the government to do something about it because it affects their children, their families, and their daily lives. Okay, so the government came to agree that they must grow green, more green, in order to solve this problem, and they moved into two things instead of fossil fuel: solar panels and wind. So these are the two things that they use in order to make energy instead of coal, oil, and fossil fuels and all that. So China is progressing. But what about other countries like India? Okay, this is a less developed country than China. So what do? They don't do anything about it. Why? Because they're a poor country. Although they're the third largest emitter of CO2, but they do nothing about it because they're poor. Okay. 300 million people, that's 30% of the population, they don't live without electricity. They have no light, they have nothing to cook their food. So how do they cook their food? Okay. Cow dung. Do you know what cow dung is? The poop of a cow. Okay. This is called cow dung. This is how they make food. Okay, how? They bring this cow dung, okay, they shape it like a pie. It's called cow dung cake. Okay.
Yeah. It looks, oh, by the way, it looks very delicious.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
It's called cow dung cakes. So they put this on the sun, and when it dries, they use it to cook food. They burn these because they don't have coal and other things, so they use poop to cook. Okay, so because they have no fossil fuels.
Yeah, I think we should try it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Although this is a coal mine from India. India is like third or fourth largest coal mine in the world. They have the this is I think from New Delhi. It's called. They have the largest, but they have these problems that people don't get electricity. Okay. Another thing is called sea level rise. Okay, we have farmers that spend the whole year planting onions. This is onion. Okay, this is all onion plants, and suddenly they get the half of the year's rainfall in 5 hours. So the amount of rain that was supposed to rain in 6 months, it fell in 5 hours. So the whole of the plants, the courts, they get underwater, and that's the reason why the poor people gets the first strike of global warming. They get the worst impact. Okay, another thing just quickly, this is an island, okay? This island will be underwater really soon because of the sea level rise. Okay. Okay. It's not just sea level rise. Under the water also, we have these beautiful coral reefs. These are called coral reefs. They die and they turn into like a desert. You see absolutely no fish swimming around because this is a dead coral reef. So the under the sea gets the impact as well. Okay. So what are why is this bad? Because 1 billion people in the world depend on fish to get their food. So if that happens, there will be no fish left and starvation will kill these people eventually. Okay, you all heard that trees absorb CO2 and they give us O2, okay? Seas are the same way, okay? They get about a third of the CO2 that we dump into the atmosphere, they absorb it. Like 33% of it goes under, they absorb it. But because of we have this high rate of CO2, the ocean can't do its job fast enough, so that emits more carbon. Okay, the trees. Okay, as we know, like I said, carbon dioxide is stored in these trees. Okay, they absorb the CO2 for us, and they store it in their trunks and their leaves. But what we do is that we light them on fire, and the CO2 is get back into the atmosphere, and it turns into a carbon bomb. Okay, it acts like a bomb, it explodes, and a whole lot of CO2 is dumped. Okay, one thing quickly. We have 3 tropical rainforests left in the world. This is in South America, this is in Africa, and this is in Indonesia. In Indonesia, people cut down the trees, they make fire on purpose, just so that they can make palm oil. This is called palm oil. This is in everything, okay? Every food we eat, the makeup, everything has palm oil in it. So this is the cheapest oil that you can get out from a vegetable. Okay, so A lot of companies get profit from palm oil. We have Doritos, we have Quaker, and all